They just write as much as they can to retell the story. That's not proficiency based, that's performance. But I don't want to talk about time rights too much yet. What is this one? This one is, that's the same thing, right? Yeah, okay. And then another story I might do. So in English, I would say there's a girl and she wants to do something this weekend. She wants to see a movie, and I'm not going to go back and do the modeling of the stories, but the circling questions. She calls her friend, but her friend can't make it because she has basketball practice at 7 o'clock tonight. She calls her boyfriend, no, her brother, or she talks to her brother, and he's sick, and she calls her boyfriend, or her boyfriend can't go because he's working at Steak and Shake for the night, and so she's sad. Empieza a llorar. She starts to cry, and then she has an idea, and then she takes the cat to the movie theater. And then as a follow-up, so that like I said, that's about a good 20 minutes of me circling, and that's my script that I'm doing with them. They don't have anything in their hands. I mean, they're just listening the whole time. Then I give it out afterwards. There's a girl named Susana. She likes to watch new movies. Today's Friday. Susan wants to see a movie, Rampage at 8 o'clock at night. Her favorite actor is Dwayne Johnson. In her opinion, Dwayne Johnson, super handsome. There's a problem. I know. Susana doesn't want to go to the movie theater alone. She talks with her friend Jessica. Jessica's on the basketball team in the school. Jessica cannot go to the movie theater with Susana because she has to play at a game at 7 o'clock. Then Susana talks with her brother Rafael. He can't go because he's sick. Then Susana talks with her boyfriend Nicolas, and he has to go to Steak and Shake for 10 hours. She's sad. She starts to cry suddenly. And sometimes I think they do that too. Susana looks at her cat and has an idea. Finally, at 8 o'clock, she goes to the movie theater with her cat. This is in lieu of if I don't want to have them do a write from memory. They're not doing both, And I give this out, and they just answer some questions. And I might put them in. It's up to you how you want to adjust things. You can put them in English or put them in Spanish. Oh, that's for another one. Or I might give out a half slip afterwards, and all these sentences are in jumbled order. And then on a little half slip, and then they're writing it. They can number the order first before they commit to paper, and they write it all in order. That's another way. You could also take out words and put a word box, and they have to do that kind of stuff too before they go to the questions. And sometimes, and then I might put 2 personal questions afterwards and ask them, do you like steak and shit, or whatever, whatever questions I can come up with in the story to give them a personal question in Spanish as well to make it, more connected to them. And then so another story, and so these 2 girls are going to a movie theater, and they go to Starbucks. And
Are those your students' pictures?
No, they're just cropped out from Google, and I just crop them out and paste them in there and give it a little animation.
I have a question.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Nope. We're good.
You already said this. I'm really sorry, but you create all these PowerPoints about pictures. How long does it take you to do? It just seems daunting to that.
It was. It is. I guess in a way. Well, I do it so kind of quickly. I guess I don't know.
Sure
It's just
yeah.
it's just back and forth from Google to PowerPoint, and I enlarge the pictures and then make it look. Sometimes if I get lazy, I don't deal with the animation. They're just pasted there. But now I have them because I'm still doing the same curriculum. I did quite a bit of work last year. I give these out a lot of teachers too, so they can just have and do whatever they want with them. Change the script. If you want her to buy socks, just delete that, put socks in front of her. And then they come out and they're like, the car's gone. So time right for proficiency. We could, there's a lot of information, I'm sorry, as far as, I'm seeing the time here. But I also do a lot of proficiency writes. That's my new thing to do this year, where I try to get students to write as much as they can in 5 minutes. I do a proficiency write every Friday with the students. I set the time for 10 minutes, and they write whatever they want to in the language. And it kind of shows me their proficiency, how much they've acquired so far. And try to get a goal of 100 words in 5 minutes by the end of the year. I start with 10 minutes, time writes. And then they count how many words they had, not proper names like Walmart, not if they had to write a word in English to keep the flow of their story going. I have a Bengal and lizard. You can't count that when it's all said and done when they count their words. And then when I do a class average, I see how many words the class wrote on average. So if they have 66 words on average, then we continue at 10 minutes every Friday until that average gets to 100 words, and then I go to 9 minutes, and then I go to 8 minutes, and eventually we get to 5 minutes so that there's 100 words written at the end of the year on average in 5 minutes. I'm using that as a slow growth pre and post proficiency rate. Scott Benedict is the pro on proficiency time rates. Why 100 words? Because he's saying that in 5 minutes a native speaker can write about 100 words in 5 minutes in their native language. So here's an example. So she wrote all this. This was whatever topic they wanted. Hi, my name's Sia. I'm 14 years old. Soy. I'm not looking at accuracy, just like the fluency in the school, proficiency, right? In the school, I like my math class because it's very fun. With my friends, I don't like natural sciences. She should probably say I have a sister that has 9 years old, so she does it there, but not up there. But because I don't want them, they're not thinking. I'm not having them think and really, focus in on this on things. I want them just to produce. I want a dog, but my parents say no. I like to swim in the pool. They watch videos on YouTube, or maybe she does. Maybe that's what she's saying, but it's in they form. One day I want to visit British Virgin Islands. I eat a lot of Cheetos. My favorite food is Taco Bell. I don't like to run in the summer because it's hot. I want to live in London someday. That's from the special person. And originally I'm from Florida. And there's another one. I'm not going to go through all that stuff. But here's some picture talk stuff where I just kind of circle the pictures. I know we're pressed for time here. It's like I got so much things. When I do grammar stuff, I kind of do it this way, where I just highlight the ending and then half slips, and they just put a check, so they can kind of focus in on the ending. Because I do have, I have to have them aware of grammar. Well, if you give them so much input, then they just know how to spell things and how to hear, because I'm never giving them forced input. I'm never saying yo jugar. They've never heard that ever. It's always juego, juego, juega, juego, juega. Constantly. You don't have to tell them it's what to do about stem changing verbs. It's just juego. It just is. And when I do the calendar stuff in class, piensan, think, and then it's just piens. We don't really have to focus on whether it's a stem changer or not, because we don't do that in our native language, thinking of like, why is there an S inflection on? Because that's all you've ever heard in the input is she walks, And then, Michigan CI Language Teachers is a Facebook group, and then IFLT is 8,000 members where they talk about a lot of CI stuff and movie talks and stories, and they share out. There's 8,000 members, a lot of big names in the CI universe. If you want, I can give you all this too. You can just send me an email. If you want to look through more of this stuff. I'm sorry. T with BVP is now talking out too. A lot of things that he says that I like. Language is not subject matter like math and science. Language 1 and 2 are fundamentally the same. What's on page 32 is not what winds up in your head. There's no such thing as grammar rules. That's not what happens in your head. Like verbs and subjects may agree. Sounds like a rule, but everyone's internalizing. Como, duermo, como, hablo. They're storing that as whole words in their head. They're not dividing the stem from the ending. And eventually they get the ending tag's meaning, and so they can just tag it to any new word they hear after they've heard these whole verb endings stored in your, hablas and hablo are two different words. And things like that. Sorry, I'm kind of going to go on a tangent here, but yeah, this is a good book. While we're on the topic, he talks about the 7 principles of contemporary language teaching. It's not a lot of second language acquisition jargon. It's like a very conversational book that teachers can really understand about how language works. When he was at Mitten CI 2 years ago as a presentation, doing the keynote. I liked how he said something. This is from his screen. You know, methods emphasize input to greater or lesser degrees as part of what happens in and out of class, but input CI in and of itself is not a method. It's a construct with an acquisition. We acquire language through comprehensible input, which is language that we listen to for the intent to understand, is what comprehensible input is. So then he says, please don't tell people I teach CI or I use the CI approach. Rather, my approach methods put CI and interaction with CI at the center of the classroom and homework activities. We're already at 10 o'clock, so. All right, so anyways, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it. Hopefully that helps you out. Apologize that I had, it was pretty overload. If you want any of my stuff and that, I can give them to you. My email's right there. And enjoy the rest of the conference. Tina Harganen has a session and a workshop tomorrow. And all the other great presenters out there. Oh, so making like an assessment.